Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Banished with me, Lathsburg, and of course, welcome back to the newly seafaring nation of Lathsburg. In today's episode, we're going to be carrying on from where we left off, which of course is the production of lamp oil from Blubber. I've been having a quick look-see at the actual production rate of our lovely lamp oil, and it turns out it is remarkably slow. The reason is it requires 100 blubber to make only 4 lamp oil. But all is not lost, because I did notice 2 very useful things. Number 1, lamp oil is worth a fortune on the trading post. In fact, 1 lamp oil is worth 35, whereas 1 whale blubber is only worth 1. One of the very few occasions where the refining of a resource does indeed cause a nice bit of profit. In fact, it's rather a large bit of profit. I believe that would be a profit of 30, which is absolutely glorious. So that's really nice to know. So we may consider actually making lamp oil for wealth in the future, and to do this, of course, we're going to need a lot more lamp oil, which brings us on to the second thing I've noticed. The wharfen ship is actually very effective at getting food, although it's not quite as effective as the fishing posts. If we are going to start getting whale blubber for wealth for our glorious little nation, then we could very well start to rely on it a little bit more for actual food production, particularly as our population is currently soaring with our recent efforts to do just that and get some more labourers. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make a new island over here. There's a large lake over here which is just being wasted and is very close to the original settlement and our logging camp, meaning it's the perfect place to start putting down some new wharf and ships, in addition to the fact it is actually connected to the trading river. So even if this lovely wharf and ship does need the trading river to function, I'm not sure if it actually does or not, it will work regardless. So we're building it here anyway, so there's absolutely no risks we're going to take. So I'll be right back once I've outlined the basic shape for our new island. There we have it, the very rough design is finished. Now the main island of the two is going to look as man-made as possible, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to be using the decorative pieces found in the themed sets section. This way we can make it look more like an active dock that's been built up over years by the villagers, as opposed to just a really weird rock in the middle of the lake, because of course you can't really smooth the edges using the raise terrain tool, as making islands is pretty much a secondary thought for the tool, not exactly its main purpose. So we're going to go ahead, wait for these creek plank bridges to be finished, then we shall allow some of the wharfen ships to actually be produced. Weirdly enough, this one's managed to get some supplies already given to it. I think what's happened there is that some people did warp onto the island while it was being built, and that does seem to happen a little bit with the man-made islands. They're not exactly, well, they're not exactly perfectly designed, let's just say that, and occasionally villagers will somehow make their way across the water to them, despite the fact there's no bridges. Apparently some of our villagers can actually swim. One small issue I am noticing is we are running out of fuel, and wood in fact. The reason for that though is because of our extended growth in the east, a lot of new houses and development going down. So what we're going to need to do is increase our amount of foresters, which are there, back to a normal amount, and then increase the amount of stacks burners which are actually functioning. All of the ones over here are already functioning, aren't they? Yes. So what we'll do is we will add an additional stacks burner and then 1 extra forester over here, and then we'll come back when that's all finished and when our bridges are done. The bridges are built, we have a load more labourers, and we now have the new stack burners. It's time to start making the island livable. So we're going to be using country houses in addition to a singular large residence. The large residence will be there almost completely for looks, and it's going to essentially be the island's owner. we could have officer townhouses, which are kind of awesome, honestly. They're very space efficient and look kind of nice, but I don't think it really suits the island's aesthetic. We're either going to use town abodes, or we're going to use the country houses. One of the two. Now, I'm not quite certain which. We're not going to be using the saltbox houses, as that looks more industrial. I mean, town abodes are still pretty good. There's nothing wrong with the town abodes, and they are significantly cheaper to make. It would also suit the island's aesthetic of being sailors and being all fishermen and such. So, yeah, we'll go with town abodes, although I do need to quickly destroy that, as it seems there's a little bit of an error right there. Oh yeah, so there is. I wonder what that is. There's a line right there which I can't build on. Not quite sure why that is, so we'll just take that as a sign and say we should have a bit of a gap here. So, going back with town abodes, we don't need too many, but we definitely need a few. So let's just do this. Have them all the same style because I'm lazy and I like it to be all nice and neat like that. And then we'll have it like this. Yeah, have them all facing the same way. Then we'll have a big road between them. Give them a little bit of space so we're not looking directly at each other like in the main towns. There we go. Of course, then we're going to need some storage for the whale blubber. We don't need anything over the top. Once again, just like the small fishing area, all we need is a small barn. So we'll put that... let's put that over here, just after the weird glitch area. Next, then, we're going to need a market. And the market we're going to have is the small market, because, well, look how small the area is. We don't need anything more than that. And that can be facing this way at the very edge here. And that will make the area livable, at least. Once everything's built, we can start work on converting the area to making it a lot more urban and considering other things we can add to the island. Oh, we do, of course, also need the oil production. That's a pretty important thing. I would like the oil to be produced on the island. We could have it produced on this island, and actually, now I've said that, I think that's what I want. So, the oil press, we could have 2 of them on this island, and then that would be this island's purpose. No, we could probably only just... No, we could fit 2, but I think it'd be in the way. So let's have 1. Honestly, if we don't process the blubber fast enough, the excess will be moved over here anyway, so it's not exactly a big issue. So we have the oil press there, then we can have a small house next to it, which is the oil press's house. And I think they can have the country house because, you know, it's special and stuff. Okay, back to work. Also, we're getting a load of labourers now because all of the increase in population is finally paying off. So, one thing I'm going to do is change this cotton field over to actual food for next year because we're getting excess, honestly, of the cloth, so that should help out with our food reserves. And in addition to that, we can go ahead and hopefully over the course of winter make yet another crop field. 22 by 22, I believe, is the efficient size, because 11 by 11 is one of the most efficient, so I assume... Yeah, because we tested it. It doesn't quite get completely harvested by 4 people, but if you have 6 or 5, it does completely harvest. And considering we have spare people, it really doesn't matter if we are efficient or not. We could also increase the amount of fishermen here, although we are already oversaturating it, which is a very silly thing to do indeed, but I just think it looks fairly nice. And you can start catching frogs. Yay, okay, back in a second, once all of that is underway. Oh look! We have our first house. The large residence is already there, and of course, preoccupied by builders. Our first ship has been created, so the island is already producing whale blubber, lobster, and whale meat. And of course, some seal meat will soon follow. So that's absolutely fantastic. The first is already created, and soon, so shall the second ship be created. It only needs a few more hull components before it starts to be built, and I do think we have a lot of it already in the inventory. In fact, I know we do, because I saw it a second ago. So this shouldn't take too long at all before this one's up and running as well. So all we need then is the actual town abodes. Now, please ignore the people who are currently jobless. I am upgrading the quarry over by the mines, which is, of course, over here. which needs candles, which we do have as well. We also now have a load more mines, and we are upgrading the first with the lamp oil we own. We don't quite have 120, but we have enough that we do have, that we can at least start stockpiling it there. We also have these farms now functioning. We have sadly missed this one's chance to be planted, so I won't start work, otherwise people will flock to there. But we now have 2 more harvestable crop fields, which should start stabilising our food income. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to go back to using some gatherers in these sections. And actually, now I've said that, just to make sure we survive, let's put a gatherer's hut there, and we'll put a gatherer's hut somewhere else, and that will help out. That'll just help stabilise our food until we have the farms up and running. Never in Banished have I seen such quick progress on multiple levels. We are currently building 21 buildings. Well, actually, now it's 20 now. This one's just came up, which include gatherers' huts, new foresters' lodges, a new hunting blind, which is the first of its kind, which is used to hunt ducks and other water animals. We have various fishing posts currently being built, amongst many other things. Really industrious little town at the moment, mostly because we have an influx of labourers. I simply can't get the people enough jobs, and there are still 68 students very close to being labourers themselves, because of course we had a huge population boom at one moment, so we're getting all the labourers in one giant leap rather than a constant supply. On the upside as well, we now have 2 wharfen ships gradually and very steadily making food, along with some whale blubber of their own. We also have an oil press over here, which I won't be turning on just yet, because we aren't actually storing anything over here. Oh, no, now we are, we can indeed begin production of lamp oil from this area. Next, I'll turn on this wharfen ship, so soon we should have a load of food incoming from the wharfen ships, in addition to a much faster rate of lamp oil. We're probably also going to go ahead and flatten this area here to fit 1 more wharfen ship on this section, and probably 1 on the back as well. We're also definitely going to start adding some tidal pools to the area, because I haven't really got any of these for quite some time, and well, the more foodstuffs we have, the healthier the population and the happier. And at the moment, we're just off maximum happiness and maximum health, so I'm trying to push that into the very last section. We also need a new parish house, which is going to be built on this locale, and that is that there, the little parish house, the little church, which I think would be best to be built back here on it. So actually no, I think the parish house should be joined up with the main building there, with the manor, as if it's on its land, and then perhaps we can make some fencing or something. We'll think of something cool as time goes by, and our labourers have increased whilst I've been talking, so let's continue giving them some jobs and figuring out some new places to build even more buildings. Finally, these forests are being used to their maximum capacity. Not only are they our major suppliers of lumber, but now they are going to become our 2nd largest suppliers of food, with gatherers' huts, hunting cabins, and all sorts of stuff like that now being placed in the area. Although, of course, these buildings are a little bit less effective in areas where there is an active forester's lodge, they are still effective enough to be a real asset to our village. And as we eventually get more foresters' lodges, we will need less people per lodge, and thus the areas are going to be less harshly cut down, thus increasing the yield from the gatherers' huts and the hunting cabins, etc. And of course we have this lovely lake next to it, which will be used for fish in the very near future. Everything's going along pretty darn well now. I mean, we are slowly losing food. We are very slowly losing food, there is no doubt about that, but we are making up for it now, with certain fisheries actually being, well, shut down, whilst we have more important ones which actually have huge areas to themselves, so more efficiency there. We are also making some new blacksmiths, because our tools have finally started to get lower. What are we actually running out of at the moment? We are running out of coal. Oh wow, yeah, we're actually running out of coal. That's actually fine, because that's very easy to fix. Dink! We have coal. Oh, this one's finished. Wow, we really need to start upgrading this stuff, and we need that lamp oil sorted now. So no, I can't simply change that to coal. However, this one is only being ran with 6 people for some reason, so that's not exactly going to be an issue for the future. And I've just figured out why we're running out of coal. We're turning it all into furnace fuel, so let's slow down the production of that for a while, and that will speed up our tool production, and then this blacksmith can simply make regular iron tools to bridge the gap until we have the resources to upgrade the blacksmith into a large smithy and then have even more steel tools. We're being very industrious today, I've noticed. A new building has now came to Lathsburg. We have the hunting blind, which helps disguise hunters so that they can catch ducks and other water animals. I'm not quite sure what the other water animals actually are, but I'm very keen to find out. It's only manned by 1 person. For some reason, I was expecting it to have more. I think it's because of how expensive the building is. So perhaps in the future, we'll find out just how effective this is and maybe even have more of them. It doesn't have a sphere of influence, so there's a good chance, in the same way as the wharf and ships, that you can put them very close to each other without having diminishing returns, unlike things like the gatherer's hut and the fisherman's posts. At last, the hunting blind has provided some food. It seems to arrive in huge amounts, rather than at a constant kind pace. It seems like 1 killed duck somehow gives us 200 meat. Either that or the hunter was very lucky with several ducks at once. But on the note of hunting, all of the hunters' cabins have now been finished, meaning that we have even more food coming in, and our food stocks are gaining rapidly. It's one of those things, as soon as you reach equilibrium, you suddenly rocket forward if you increase your gaining by even the smallest amount. In fact, we still have 1 more hunter's cabin ready to be built, meaning that we have even more food coming our way. So we are absolutely fine for food right now, and our aggressive expansion can continue. Our tools are also doing better than they were, and everything's looking good. All we're doing now is waiting on the final wharf and ship. I'm also making a new schoolhouse for this area, and we've made a new parish house. We are going to build a new main church somewhere very soon. I'm thinking in the original village somewhere here. Actually, by the looks of it, there's a good chance we could simply put it here. That wouldn't be... Actually, yeah, that's not too bad. We're going to put it here then. So that'll be the new church. I'm desperately trying to increase the happiness of our people at this stage. And this is probably the best way to do it. Something I did forget to do is actually remake the candle maker once I revamped this little village over here, which has resulted in a lot of tallow backup. In fact, how much do we have now? In terms of tallow, we have 8,874. We can make a lot of candles with that, and of course all of that's coming from the huge amount of pastures we currently have, and of course the butchers actually producing it afterwards. As you can see, they're not exactly making it slowly. Oh, there we go, we have the next wharf and ship. Absolutely fantastic. I will say though now, we are getting a little bit of lag. Not all that much, but just enough that I do need to slow down the simulation when recording. There we go. Wow, that gained me like 20 FPS. And there we go, back to 60 FPS if I'm in ×1. That's something I'll have to remember for the future, to make the viewing experience a little bit more pleasant. So, I believe though we are going to be ending the episode here. I am all out of time. This has took a very long time to record. So much has happened, and yet it involved so much waiting around. We're getting very close, to be perfectly honest, to the end of the series, because we have almost completely populated the map. The main area we haven't populated, if I pop up the map for a second, there we go, is down here. This section down here and the very tip here, of course, are not being used, but this huge forest area is being used. We have our gatherers, we have our hunters, and of course we have our foresters all using this wood for its supply, which of course is supplying the entire village with food, lumber, and of course fuel. We've even turned on the sawmill to start using some of the wood to turn it into firewood. The first time I've actually used firewood for hours upon hours of gameplay. Well, with all of that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Banished is a series you wish to see continued in the future. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.